We all know the Mariners are the 2025 AL West Division champions, and because they took the 2 seed, we know that they're going to have a bye. And I have seen a lot of discourse over the past, week or so about having that bye week, and of course how the Mariners played versus the Dodgers, having that bye week and how they're going to come out flat. So we're going to go take a look in history over the past couple of years. I'm going to give you 3 examples since they started this new playoff bracket, and then I'll give you 3 examples of what it used to be, and we'll see if there's a whole lot of a difference. Now, note, we are not going to have 2020 in there simply because it was the COVID year. Everything was weird with that. We also don't go all the way back to 2017 because, well, the Astros are cheaters. We're going to have a lot more content coming out over the next couple of weeks as the Mariners try to make it to the World Series for the first time. So make sure you like this video and are subscribed to the channel. And let's start by taking a look at this year's playoff bracket. So this is your 2025 MLB playoff bracket. As you can see in the 2 seed here, the Mariners have a bye in the first round. They'll be playing one of the Tigers or the Guardians. That series starts today that I post this video. On the other side of things, the Blue Jays have the 1 seed. They also get a bye, and they'll be playing the winner of the Red Sox and the Yankees. So the Mariners are off from Sunday, the final game of the season versus the Dodgers, and they don't play again until Saturday. Now, that's what, 5 days in between games? Yeah, I can understand why people are a little bit worried that there could be some rust on the team when they get out there. But has that always been the case in Major League Baseball? Let's take a look. Now, we have to start with the first year that they implemented the 3rd wild card, and that was 2022. We know the Mariners came in at the 5th seed, so they weren't the 3rd wild card. The Rays were the 3rd wild card, but nonetheless, let's take a look at how this season went. The Yankees and the Astros both had bye weeks. They were both the 1 and the 2 seed in the American League, and both of them went to the championship series, with, of course, the Astros moving on to the World Series. On the National League side of things, both the Padres and the Phillies, the 2 teams that met in the championship series, both of those teams were wild card teams. And the Phillies moved on to the World Series. So on one side of the bracket, you have 2 teams that had a bye. On the other side of the bracket, you have 2 teams that played in the wild card series. Now, the team that won was the Houston Astros, the team that had the bye. But I don't know if there's a whole lot that we can derive from 2022. But 2023 gets really, really interesting. So here we are in 2023, and when you look at the American League Championship Series, the Astros were the team that had a bye in the first round. They were the 2 seed in all of the American League. However, they went on to play the Texas Rangers, and the Rangers beat the Rays in the wild card series. They then proceeded to beat the Orioles in the division series, went on to the championship series to beat the Astros, and the Rangers were the team that went to the World Series in 2023, and ultimately they won it, a wild card team. On the other side of things, the 2 teams that met in the National League Championship Series, both teams were wild card teams. In the Diamondbacks and the Phillies, the Diamondbacks went on to the World Series. So it was 2 wild card teams in the World Series this season, and the Rangers were the team that came out on top. So in 2022, we had a bye week team win the World Series, and in 2023, a team that did not have a bye week and played in the wild card won the World Series. Interesting. Not shockingly, that 2023 season is the one that sent a lot of people into like hey, we need to change the way the playoffs work. This is not okay, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, 2023 makes sense, but 2024 is going to completely derail that conversation. In 2024, you had the Yankees and the Guardians meeting in the American League Championship Series. Both teams had a first round bye. The Guardians played the Tigers in that division series after the Tigers beat the Astros. We can all remember that pretty vividly. And the Yankees played the Royals after they beat the Orioles. Now, the Yankees would end up beating the Guardians, so a team with a bye week was to go to the World Series from the American League side. On the flip side of things, the Mets are a team that did come out of the wild card. They made it to the championship series, but the Dodgers, the 1 seed in the National League, went to the championship series as well, and they ended up beating the Mets. So therefore, 2 teams in the World Series, both teams that had bye weeks, both teams that did have that week off and didn't have to play those extra 3 games. So we look at the way these 3 playoff years have worked out. only 1 year did a wild card team win the World Series, and that would be the year that the Texas Rangers beat the Arizona Diamondbacks. However, in nearly every year except for 2024, a wild card team did make it to the World Series in the new expanded playoff bracket where they add a third wild card team. Now, if we really want to take a look at how it worked before to see if that was better and see if teams without buys or whatever was better, we have to go back to 2021. So in 2021, there was only 2 wildcard teams. So the 2 wildcard teams would play each other, and then that team would go on, whoever won that wildcard series, would go on to face the 1 seed in that league. So in 2021, the Red Sox and the Yankees were both wildcard teams. They went on, when the Red Sox won, to play the Tampa Bay Rays in the division series, and the Red Sox won that series. Now, keep in mind, the wildcard was just 1 game. So the final game of the regular season in 2021 was October 3rd, and the division series started on October 7th. So instead of 5 days in between for those teams that have the bye, it was just 3 days without games. On the other side of the bracket here, the Astros were able to beat the White Sox and move on to the championship series. So you have a wild card team in the Red Sox facing the Astros, a division team, and the Astros were the team that went to the World Series. On the flip side of things, in the National League Championship Series, the Dodgers were a wild card team. They beat the Cardinals, they beat the Giants, and they went to the Championship Series. The Braves went to the Championship Series. They were, of course, a division winner, and the Braves took down the Dodgers in 2021 to move on to the World Series. 2 teams that were both division winners that did have that layoff. Now, again, we're skipping 2020 because, of course, that was the COVID year. But looking at 2019, the 2 teams in the championship series in the American League were both teams that 1 and 2 seed. They were 2 teams that did have that 3-game or 3-day layoff between the Astros and the Yankees. And the Astros won, sending them to the World Series. So a team that had the bye week back in the day, which was only 3 days instead of 5. On the other side of things, the Nationals and the Cardinals. The Nationals were a team that came out of the wild card, and the Cardinals were a team that were division winners. And so when they moved on to the World Series, the Nationals that is, they were a wild card team, and the Nationals ended up beating the Astros in that World Series to make them the wild card team that won that year. So now again, we have a team that won out of the wild card, similar to how we have in the current iteration of the bracket. And that takes us to 2018, where the Red Sox played the Astros in the championship series, 2 teams that had that 3-day bye week. The Red Sox are the team that ended up going to the World Series. On the NL side of the bracket, the Brewers and the Dodgers played each other. Neither team was a wild card team, and the Dodgers decided to go, hey, we're going to the World Series. They went in 2018. But the Red Sox came away with the victory. So again, a division winner, a team that had that 3 days off, they went on to win the World Series. And both teams were teams that had 3 days off. So you look at the 2 scenarios. We have 3 seasons of the current bracket and 3 seasons of the old bracket. Only once in those 3 season spans for both brackets did a wild card team win the World Series. That would be the Rangers in 2023 and the Nationals in 2019. Otherwise, the team that won the World Series has always been a team that had those off days. Now, again, they are extended from 3 days off, which is what they used to be, to the 5 days off now. But what does all of this mean? I'll be the first to tell you that momentum has a lot to do with baseball. Momentum is huge. And you have a team like the Rangers in 2023. They were really good at the start of the year, really bad in the middle of the year, got hot for 2 weeks, made it in the wild card, and kept riding that high to win the World Series. There's momentum in baseball. And frankly, yeah, could the Mariners come out flat because they had 5 days off? I think they could, absolutely. But personally, I just think these guys are way too hungry, way too driven to come out flat against either the Tigers or the Guardians. Now, that team, whichever team wins, the Guardians, of course, have been incredibly hot recently. Whatever team wins is going to be, they're going to have the momentum. That is true. They're going to have the momentum just straight up. But the Mariners are a hungry team, the only team that's never been to the World Series. They just won the division for the first time since 2001. They're going to be hosting scrimmages that fans can go to. because they want to simulate as much of an actual game feel as they can. And so the Mariners are really trying to find a way to keep the energy going, albeit maybe, everyone needs to stay healthy. And that's kind of what was going on in the Dodgers series. That's why Cal DH'd a lot in the Dodgers series, blah, blah, blah. Keep guys healthy because you need every single guy for the postseason play. And I think that having these scrimmages is a really, really cool way for the Mariners to try to keep themselves warm. Now, does that mean they're not going to come out flat on Saturday? Who knows? I mean, I can't see the future. But let me know in the comments down below if you think that having this 5 days off is a good thing or a bad thing. I appreciate you guys watching this one. Don't forget to subscribe, and go Mariners.